Breaking news, kids! Disney has decided that Jimmy Kimmel gets to come back. That's right, the mouse has caved to Hollywood elites, activist pressure, and a whole lot of whining. Apparently, spreading misinformation about a murder suspect is just fine, as long as you're Jimmy Kimmel. Hello, I'm Marvin, and I'm the Movie Monster. So let's rewind this little saga. Kimmel goes on the air after Charlie Kirk's assassination and tells America that conservatives were, quote, desperately trying to categorize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them.
This is a lie.
Problem is, that was false. By then, law enforcement had already revealed that the ammo casings had leftist slogans engraved on them, and the shooter was living with a trans partner, biologically male, identifying as female. And you know those crazy conservatives and their trans lovers, right?
Pachingo, pachingo, pachingo.
But Kimmel decided to run with a political narrative instead of the truth. And Disney, well, they pulled him off the air for a hot second, pretending that they were just shocked by what they later described as ill-timed comments. Not misinformation, mind you, just, bad timing.
You can't keep getting away with it!
It's the corporate equivalent of saying, Jimmy, next time lie to the American public on a Wednesday instead of a Monday. Now, here's where it gets really funny. Hollywood celebrities and activists went nuclear over this suspension. Mark Ruffalo himself popped up,
Gay!
warning Disney that their stock was going to tank if they didn't bring Kimmel back.
My money!
And what happened? Well, the Disney stock didn't really change all that much. Hollywood outrage had no measurable impact on the bottom line. So why did Disney cave? Not because of money, clearly. Not because of viewers, very clearly. They caved for social pressure, for political optics, because Hollywood elites can't stand to lose one of their own. And to cover their tracks, they recharacterized Kimmel's comments. Disney's official line was that his remarks were insensitive and ill-timed. No mention of the fact that what he said was outright and probably knowingly false.
It's not about money. It's about sending a message.
They scrubbed misinformation from the record and turned it into a feelings issue. So just how infuriating does this get? Find out today on Tooney Town TV. All right, guys, it happened. Jimmy Kimmel is on his way back to the airwaves, back to ABC, back to Disney television. And, well, if you didn't see this one coming, guys, you have not been paying attention to the Walt Disney Company for the last couple of years. Because, so let's take a look. Jimmy Kimmel is back on the air. Disney caves to progressive backlash, frames offending comments as insensitive rather than misinformation.
Fools! Idiots! Imbeciles!
Disney has caved to pressure from Hollywood activists and liberal allies, announcing that Jimmy Kimmel will be back on ABC's late night lineup just days after pulling the plug on his show. The Mouse House made no mention about the blatantly false claims that Kimmel made regarding the Charlie Kirk murder suspect, but rather focused on the sensitivity and timing of his remarks. It's just the most Disney thing you've ever heard in your life. That narrative sidesteps the real problem, of course, is that Jimmy Kimmel spread blatant and very likely, I could say this here because I'm giving my opinion, in my opinion, willful disinformation about a murder investigation. It was never just poorly timed jokes. That's the thing. And here's the thing. I am a huge advocate of freedom of speech, obviously. And freedom of speech means you're not thrown in jail for saying something. An employer still has the right to be like, I don't like what you said. You don't have a right to be on my network, on my show. I can pull you off of it. I have the right to kick off any panelist that I don't like on Tooney Talk TV, for example.
Oh, I see. Oh, it was no one's fault. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Well then, problem solved.
That's my prerogative as the person who runs the show. That's not me curbing free speech. Curbing free speech is like people locking you up for social media posts or things that you've said, and you suddenly, like the Gestapo kicks down your door and drags you away. That's a lack of freedom of speech. And so people are not really and a lot of the people that are celebrating this freedom of speech, they did not have this same energy when Tucker Carlson was fired. They did not have the same energy when Megyn Kelly was fired. They did not have the same energy when Roseanne Barr was fired, because it is rules for thee, but not for me. Now, at the end of the day, Jimmy Kimmel was not fired for the same reasons as Roseanne Barr, Tucker Carlson, or Megyn Kelly. Jimmy Kimmel was suspended. Jimmy Kimmel was suspended. He got like a half a week paid vacation, specifically because he spread
unsubstantiated fantasy. Lies, lies, lies.
So here's Disney's official statement on bringing Jimmy Kimmel back. Now you guys know me. You guys know that I don't like politics. It's actually infuriating how much politics and entertainment converge in the year of our Lord 2025. I really don't like that at all. But unfortunately, we have no choice but to kind of cover this one because this is a huge merging of politics and entertainment here because everybody made it political.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
At the end of the day, I really don't think that the decision to preempt on Sinclair and Nexstar, I believe, was made before the FCC made their comments. So I don't think that politics really had much to do with this, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. So here's Disney's official statement. Last Wednesday, we made the decision to suspend production on the show to avoid further inflaming a tense situation at an emotional moment for our country. It's a decision we made because we felt some of the comments were ill-timed and thus insensitive. We have spent the last days having thoughtful conversations with Jimmy, and after those conversations, we reached the decision to return to the show on Tuesday. Now, notice how Disney carefully avoids admitting that Kimmel's monologue pushed an unproven and demonstrably false political narrative about the suspect in Charlie Kirk's assassination. By framing the controversy as a matter of tone or timing, Disney is protecting one of its top late-night stars while ignoring the substance of the criticism. And that's really it, guys. It's the substance. And at the end of the day, pulling Jimmy Kimmel from its lineup should not have been this explosion that it was. Jimmy Kimmel has lost nearly half of his audience, 40-something%. We reported on it last week. 40-something% of his audience between January 2025 and now. So the show is already bleeding money. It has Colbert was losing $40 million a year for CBS, and Kimmel did worse than Colbert. So that should tell you right there exactly, what kind of financial situation Jimmy Kimmel Live has been putting Disney through. Now, it had already come out several times that Jimmy Kimmel had said repeatedly that this contract was probably going to be his last. He didn't want to do the show anymore. I don't think he had much of a choice. I think Disney was going to cut him loose. So it was basically just his contract was ending a few months early. But we can't have that now. We had to make Jimmy Kimmel into a political martyr for him to go up there and bloviate and smirk and make up lies and just give partisan hack, quote unquote, comedy. Nobody's laughing at it. It's not funny. It's nothing that he says is funny. It's just gay, angry. There's only one comedian that does angry funny amazingly, and that's Louis Black. And Jimmy Kimmel, you are no Louis Black, sir. But the funny thing is how Disney folded like a house of cards on this, because there was really no reason to. Let's take a look right here. So there was a lot of talk and bluster from stars of every wake and corner of the Disney universe, right? But then today, the Mandalorian and Grogu trailer came out 3 days late. They were supposed to come out on Friday. They held it due to this supposed Jimmy Kimmel controversy, but there's no sign of any progressive backlash against this trailer when it first dropped, and nor since. So let's take a look here. The trailer dropped, and it showed exactly how severe this so-called Kimmel-centric outrage was. On YouTube, the teaser trailer racked up more than 34,000 likes compared to just 612 dislikes. The comments were also not dominated by calls for boycotts or recycled Kimmel talking points. I did a search for Kimmel's name in the comment section there. I came up with 5 results out of thousands of comments. So instead, fans zeroed in on, Pedro Pascal's return, Sigourney Weaver being in the movie, Grogu being on the screen, all that stuff. So there you see it right there, 34K to 612K. I'm sure if we look at it right now, guys, we're at 97,000 likes compared to 20,000 dislikes. And that number only jumped up after they announced they were bringing Kimmel back. But also, this trailer was garbage and dog crap.
It stinks.
So I don't think all of the dislikes have something to do with Kimmel, but at the end of the day, that's a pretty severe like ratio there. Like people were not like the Ghost of Yotai, which has an actual boycott against it. Let's take a look at that trailer. Hey guys, take a look at this. 64,000 dislikes to 22,000 likes. That's what actual Outrage looks like. That's because one of their devs shot off their mouth about Charlie Kirk's assassination. And Sucker Punch eventually commented on it, but it was very like, I guess we have to comment on this. And they said words like kind of and sort of. It was really ridiculous. And so this is what an actual boycott looks like. Then you had Mark Ruffalo, the Gruffalo, our good friend, from Marvel, coming out there and warning Disney, wagging the finger at his own employer, saying that their stock would tank unless they reinstated Jimmy Kimmel. But funnily enough, from Mark Ruffalo, the Gruffalo, the stock had not moved in any meaningful way. So CNN and others jumped on a minor 3.5% dip in the Disney stock price following the ouster of Kimmel, reporting that it fell from around $116 a share to $112 last week. Now, that sounds dramatic in a headline, but in reality, that is a tiny fluctuation for a company that's valued at over $200 billion, especially one that saw its stock plummet down to $81.72 within this calendar year. So here it is right there. You see down 2.6% the past 5 days. You see right here, right around the time that Jimmy Kimmel was pulled off the air, the stock dips and then it dips again. Okay. And then it comes back up. And then it comes back up, and then it comes back up, and then it takes another dip, and then it comes right back up, and then it takes another dip. So these are just the fluctuations that a stock like this has. Now, take a look at what it is from year to date, right? The stock is all the way up here when in the springtime, it was all the way down here. I mean, this stock crashed hard this year and rebounded infuriatingly enough. Again, no financial advice being given here on this channel. But, I mean, take a look. This stock is more healthy than it's been for most of this calendar year. Look at this. It was healthier there, maybe right there, and right over here. Other than that, it spent the majority of this year underneath where it is now. And, guys, this is the thing that you have to remember about this Hollywood outrage machine led by goofs like this. Things like the Sydney Sweeney ad, right? People went ballistic about this thing, and they said they were going to boycott an American Eagle, you'll live to rue the day. American Eagle stock soared, okay? And then, every single Hollywood celebrity from Ruffalo to the late night host lined up behind Kamala Harris. And we all saw how that worked out. Hollywood is no longer the voice of the people. They do not speak for the majority of Americans. But then, you look at something like the Dylan Mulvaney situation with Bud Light. That was an actual boycott that cost a company billions of dollars. Look at Jaguar. Look at Cracker Barrel. Money. These things actually hurt the companies because it was actually a large amount of people that were behind it. I think at this point, and I hate using this term because in the wrestling world, the term gets so overused, but it really is a vocal minority of people who are just being very loud on the internet. And Disney caved to those people. Now, here's one of the more interesting things about this entire situation. Sinclair Broadcasting, the ABC affiliate company that originally kicked Kimmel off the air along with Nexstar, they said beginning Tuesday night, they will still be preempting Jimmy Kimmel Live across the ABC affiliate stations and replacing it with news programming. Discussions with ABC are ongoing as we evaluate the show's potential return. So they actually stood strong. They were originally going to air a Charlie Kirk memorial in place of Kimmel on Friday night, and then they caved reportedly because there were threats of violence. There were even like some pictures that we saw of bullet holes in the window of an ABC affiliate office. So, I mean, guys, people are out of control right now, and there's a lot of violence going on. Please, guys, listen to me. If you never take another thing that I say seriously, violence is never the answer unless you're on the schoolyard and some kid is picking on you and you punch him in the nose to show him who's boss. But, they tend to frown upon you doing that when you're an adult. But seriously, guys, violence is never the answer. Celebrating violence is never the answer. Violence is never good, no matter which side it's against. So, to come out and cheer on violence or to joke about this kind of violence, that's not a thing that you ever want to do. It's not a good look. Please don't do it. Now, let's all remember that Jimmy Kimmel said this about Roseanne Barr. ABC, to their credit, didn't waste any time. They canceled her show today. I'm not a fan of censorship, but this wasn't about free speech. It was about consequences for saying something vile. You can say what you want, but networks don't have to pay you to say it. You can't just blame Ambien for that. Actions have consequences, and ABC made the right call.
Well, how about that?
Well, you know what, Jimmy? ABC had made the right call last week, and now it made the wrong call by bringing you back and caving to the pressure of people who are not impacting their bottom line in any way, shape, or form. Shame on you, Disney. Shame on you, Jimmy Kimmel. And shame on this kind of hypocrisy in general. So what do you guys think? Do you think Jimmy Kimmel belongs back on the airwaves? Would you have liked to have seen him stay gone? Are you happy that he's back? If you disagree with me, that's fine. We can have a civil discussion. If you start coming at me with names and nonsense, then I'm going to just ignore you. But if you want to have an actual civil discussion about this, I am more than happy to. You might even be able to sway my opinion, because a well-reasoned argument can typically get through to me because I'm an adult. So, sound off in the comments. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. So let's sum this up. Jimmy Kimmel spreads falsehoods about a murder suspect. Disney then suspends him just to save face. Hollywood yells and blames the Orange Man. Ruffalo flexes. The stock is mostly unaffected. And Disney folds like a cheap suit. And instead of telling the truth that Kimmel lied, they tell us the problem was bad timing. Bob, what are you thinking? If you ever needed proof that the Hollywood outrage machine has no real power over wallets, but total power over weak corporate spines, this is it. Kimmel's back on the air, Disney looks desperate, and America once again gets a late-night lecture that's about as funny as a root canal. But thankfully, most of America was never watching to begin with. Thanks for joining us today, and a special thanks goes out to our Tooneytown TV channel members. You guys are the heart and soul of this channel, and for that, we thank you with exclusive content like Crime and Punishment, our true crime podcast hosted by myself and Trish, and our members-only live stream on Mondays at 3 p.m. EST. So if you are not a member of the Tooneytown TV channel, join today. Oh, and make sure you're joining us Thursday nights live at 8 p.m. EST for Tooney Talk TV, our live stream pop culture podcast where you can interact with me directly and make your voices heard as a part of the Tooneytown community. If you liked what you saw here today, please like, share, and subscribe. Click that bell icon to get notified of new videos as they drop. From all of us here at the Tooneytown channels, I'm Marvin the Movie Monster. Now get out of here!